So the state of Washington just passed a magazine ban through their Senate. So let's talk about what this bill does and how it will be impacted by litigation that's already going on. But real quick before we jump to this video, if you think that magazine bans violate our Second Amendment rights, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe. Also want to thank the sponsor of this video, which is EuroOptic. If you have never used EuroOptic, trust me, it's an awesome company to buy your optics from. One of the greatest things about them is that the inventory that you see on their website is in real time, and anything listed as in stock is actually in stock. Also, when you order from EuroOptic, they actually will ship your item out that same day. And if you ever have any issues, you can actually contact someone on their staff, and all of their members are actually in America. So again, EuroOptic is an amazing company. Go check them out, and thank you again, EuroOptic, for sponsoring this video. So like I said in the intro, the state of Washington just passed a magazine ban through their Senate, and now will be going to the state house for a vote. It's looking more and more like Washington will be the next state to implement a ban on so-called large capacity magazines. The bill we will be talking about in this video is SB 5078, and many of you have been tagging me in various posts which are expressing concerns about this bill. This includes the post from Flannel Daddy himself, Grantham. So let's talk about this bill, what is going on, what it's trying to do, and also how this bill, if passed, will be impacted by litigation that is already going on in the Ninth Circuit and in the Supreme Court. The bill in question, like I mentioned, is SB 5078, and the bill defines large capacity magazines to mean an ammunition feeding device with the capacity to accept more than 10 rounds of ammunition, or any conversion kit, part, or combination of parts from which such a device can be assembled if those parts are in possession of or under the control of the same person, but shall not be construed to include any of the following: an ammunition feeding device that has been permanently altered so that it cannot accommodate more than 10 rounds of ammunition, B, a 22 caliber tube ammunition feeding device, or C, a tubular magazine that is contained in a lever action firearm. So there's a general magazine ban of magazines that possess more than 10 rounds. And then they have some carve outs where you maybe have like an AR magazine, but it is pinned so that it can only accept 10 rounds. 22 caliber mechanisms are also exempt from the general ban. And you can actually find the ban aspect of the bill under Section 3 of the bill. It states, no person in this state may manufacture, possess, distribute, import, transfer, sell, offer for sale, purchase, or otherwise transfer any large capacity magazine except as authorized in this section. Now, the state of Washington knew that an outright ban of all magazines that hold more than 10 rounds in this bill would be less palatable, so they did include a grandfather clause in the bill, and that can be found in Section 2A. Section 2A states, the possession of a large capacity magazine by a person who legally possessed the large capacity magazine before the effective date of this section, or the possession of a large capacity magazine by a person who, on or after the effective date of this section, acquires possession of the large capacity magazine by operation of law upon the death of a former owner who was in legal possession of the large capacity magazine, provided the person in possession of the large capacity magazine can establish such provenance. A person who legally possesses a large capacity magazine under this subsection is subject to the provisions of subsection 3 of this section. So that's the general grandfather clause, and essentially it establishes that if you legally possessed a magazine that holds more than 10 rounds prior to the ban, you can keep it. AKA they have a grandfather clause in this, and this is essentially to win over those people who are currently in possession of magazines that hold more than 10 rounds. However, there are also restrictions on how those in possession of grandfather magazines can actually use them. Those restrictions include the person shall not sell or transfer the magazine to any other person in this state other than to a licensed dealer, to a federally licensed gunsmith for the purpose of service or repair, or to a law enforcement agency for the purpose of permanently relinquishing the large capacity magazine. And then it goes into subsection B. The person shall possess the large capacity magazine only on the property owned or immediately controlled by the person while engaged in the legal use of large capacity magazine at a duly licensed shooting range, while engaged in lawful outdoor recreational activities such as hunting, or while traveling to or from those locations for the purposes of engaging in the legal use of the large capacity magazine, provided that the large capacity magazine is stored, unloaded, and in a separate locked container during transport. So in that section, they're saying, yes, you can keep those magazines that are grandfathered, but you can only have them at your home when you go to the range or when you go hunting. But when you transport them, you will also have to have them unloaded and stored in a separate container. So there are general restrictions on how you can actually use them and possess them going forward. These restrictions also raise serious concerns in my eyes about whether grandfather magazines can be used for concealed carry purposes going forward. So that's the general language used in this Washington bill. Again, this is what California originally did when they passed their first magazine ban. They banned any new acquisition of so-called large capacity magazines, but they said if you already had some, if you had some in your possession before it went into effect, you could keep them. So they had a grandfather clause. However, like we know, with any tyrannical government, they just want to get their foot in the door first. California later amended their laws to also then ban the grandfathered magazines. This post-facto ban on grandfathered magazines in California is what led to the Duncan v. Bonta magazine ban case that was recently heard and ruled on by the Ninth Circuit's en banc panel. Why is that important, and why am I mentioning that in the context of Washington and their new bill? Well, because Washington is within the Ninth Circuit's jurisdiction, and the ruling by the Ninth Circuit en banc panel in that case will impact and be precedent for the state of Washington. In the Duncan v. Bonta California magazine ban case, CRPA, which is the California Rifle and Pistol Association, challenged the state's ban. Judge Benitez in the Southern District of California found that the state's ban was unconstitutional and enjoined it. And of course, California didn't like losing that case, so they appealed it up to the Ninth Circuit. Well, a 3-judge panel in the Ninth Circuit reviewed the case and agreed with Judge Benitez and found that this ban was unconstitutional. Again, not liking that decision, the state of California sought a rehearing by the en banc panel in the Ninth Circuit. The Ninth Circuit's en banc panel reviewed and ruled on this case and on this issue later last year. And they did, in fact, rule in favor of the state of California, upholding the state's magazine restrictions. They found that this restriction was not a severe enough burden on the Second Amendment, on our rights to keep and bear arms, and they used the Ninth Circuit's balancing of interest test, and they used a type of analysis that is really weak when it comes to constitutional rights, known as intermediate scrutiny. The Duncan case is currently pending for a writ of certiorari to be filed to the Supreme Court so that the Supreme Court can decide whether or not they want to review this issue. However, there is also a different case that is currently sitting in the Supreme Court, which is the A&J RPC v. Graywall case, and that deals with the state of New Jersey's magazine ban. And that magazine ban in New Jersey is also similar to what Washington is trying to do and what the state of California did. If Washington does pass this bill into effect, any legal challenges will likely be held pending a determination in Duncan, since that is a case that is already being litigated out of the Ninth Circuit. It's being litigated at a higher level, seeking Supreme Court review, and would directly impact any decision in a case challenging what Washington is trying to do. In the meantime, before this bill is actually passed, I highly recommend you guys, if you're in Washington, please contact your representatives in the House. Let them know that you do not agree with this bill and that you will not vote for them if they vote in favor of passing this bill. Also, if it were me, just in case, I would likely start to slowly purchase magazines that I think I might need or think I might want, kind of just stocking up a little bit just in case. I wouldn't recommend you guys go crazy, but I'm just recommending that because take it from someone who's a California resident who has this type of ban in place, that's been in place for a while, has restricted my access to these types of magazines that I would like to have and use. If this ban goes into effect, you will probably regret not being more vocal to your representatives and trying to stop this bill, but also you'll be regretful in not obtaining what you needed before the ban went into effect. So just a little bit of advice, but hopefully this was just a good quick rundown of what the Washington bill is trying to do and where it is actually positioned in relation to cases that are actively challenging other magazine bans. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and comment down below and I'll try to answer the best of my ability. Also, if you like this video and like support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is to like, comment, and subscribe. All those things help to fuel the algorithm or fuel Algore's rhythm. It adds fuel to his jet, and it signals to YouTube that you guys see value in these videos and to this type of 2A news. Again, I cannot thank you guys enough for everybody who's liked, commented, subscribed, who's hit the notification bell, who shares these videos. You guys are directly impacting these videos, impacting this channel, and helping me to reach more people than I could have ever thought. So thank you so much for all of your support. So as always, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And never forget, this station was built by Armed Scholars and station we maintain by Armed Scholars.